Thank you, Jorge. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Secretary General Scanlon, dear colleagues. Indeed, that is very timely that we're meeting this morning to discuss the impact of corruption on wildlife and forest crime. And today, by the way, is a very important anniversary. Exactly 5 years ago, in this beautiful city, actually the outskirts of this beautiful city at Strelna, 5 international organizations, including UNODC, Secretariat of CITES, but also World Bank, Interpol, and World Customs Organization, have signed the historical document, Consortium to Combat Wildlife and Forest Crime, IQWIC. So it happened on the margins of the historical Tiger Summit, important international event, which was and where leaders have met to discuss and to raise awareness to protect wildlife, but also to protect humans from all kind of corruption, crime related to wildlife and forest crime. And since then, there have been many resolutions, many decisions, and I think we're moving ahead. Wildlife and forest crime now is clearly associated with serious threats. Reports of cities, killing of park rangers, the price of these national resources at destination markets, multi-ton shipments, all here the hallmark of transnational, all bear the hallmark of transnational organized crime networks involved in wildlife and forest crime. And that is a crime which offers the least resistance, and the profits are astronomical. As a business model for organized crime, it should be quite attractive. So our role is to resist and to address different components of this criminal behavior, including the factor of corruption, as corruption is a great enabler of all criminal activities, and wildlife and forest crime are not an exception. Corruption plays a major role in every aspect of this crime, from facilitating the poaching of endangered species to the granting of illegal fraudulent licenses for logging and hunting, to the transit and sale of ivory and other products to black market across the world, and the thwarting of investigations and prosecutions. That is why the prevention of corruption is essential if we want to confront this crime. I am sure that to those with long experience in anti-corruption world, it is clear that action and additional action is necessary. Firstly, we need to identify corruption risks in the agencies tasked with protecting wildlife and forestry resources. Secondly, we need to design strategies to mitigate these risks. Thirdly, we need to empower communities and other key players to identify and address corruption. And finally, we need public action that demonstrates that corruption will not be tolerated, and that means prosecution, conviction, and incarceration of the criminal those who are committing these crimes. Just one example, the Kenya Wildlife Service, one of the first agencies to adopt this approach, will share their experience with you in more details later this morning. Such preventive action must further be complemented by comprehensive efforts to address both supply and demand. This has been recognized as a key target of the Sustainable Development Goals, namely under Goal 15, to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. As with many other forms of organized crime, identifying the individuals responsible for wildlife and crime, that is to say, to detect the kingpins, not just foot soldiers, and bringing them to justice, and that remains a major challenge. Here too, anti-corruption measures as well as concrete steps to stem illicit financial flows and recover related stolen assets can help. By investigating related corruption and money laundering offenses, the chances of successful action against the organized crime groups significantly increased. We are proud of the progress achieved since the last 5 years. It includes in particular the role of the General Assembly. Last July, General Assembly adopted a resolution on tackling illicit trafficking of wildlife as one of the priorities. We have also to remember that the Doha Declaration of the Crime Congress also underscored this issue, as well as the recent resolutions of ECOSOC and the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. These important decisions are calling upon member states to make wildlife and forest crime a serious crime, to make increased cooperation and welcoming UNODC support for capacity building. UNODC, in its turn, has developed a global program for combating wildlife and forest crime, and we're working very closely with law enforcement, prosecution, judiciary, and other relevant stakeholders at the national and international levels to address this crime. UNODC is leading work on strengthening national legislative frameworks, building law enforcement capacity, supporting prosecutorial and judicial capacity, fostering international cooperation, developing innovative solutions in forensics, and conducting research to further inform the responses. This session of the Convention of UN Convention Against Corruption is another opportunity to ensure that we use all the means at our disposal to combat wildlife and forest crime. And that includes the tools provided by the Convention Against Corruption to implement preventive anti-corruption measures, prosecute and punish offenders, and enhance cooperation, including with international organizations and civil society. So I welcome active engagement of our colleagues from other UN agencies and entities, and of course CITES plays a leading role in this process. That's why I would like to appreciate that John Scanlon has accepted our invitation and came here also to address you on the same issue. That is our shared planet, and that's why to save the nature, to protect us from wildlife and forest crime, we need to act on the basis of a shared responsibility. I thank you.